All right, guys, welcome to episode 2 of the Be More podcast with James Calderbank. That is myself, the host, and I'm also the owner of Transform Hub franchise. So all the podcast is about helping people be more, discovering what they're really capable of in life, and how they can live a life with no limits. So that goes without saying why we've got Andy on the show with us today. So welcome, Andy.
Thanks for having me, mate.
It's getting a little bit wedged in there, aren't we? Right, so Andy, you're a Marine, ex-Marine now, Amputee, motivational speaker, and a world record holder, I believe.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That's why I'm dressed like this. I wouldn't normally come on a podcast in a suit, but I have done a motivational talk this morning, so apologies.
I do feel a bit second class to you now, mate.
Yeah, so anyone watching, I don't turn off a podcast
feel like
in
a
my
scruff.
suit. Yeah.
So what we're going to, kick it off with, because, if anyone could support the Be More what brand what we're trying to put out there is yourself, Andy. So I've got a few quick fire questions for you just to get things kicked off, really.
Go for it.
All right. So we'll start with that, and then we'll get on to the more inspiring stuff. Right. So quick question: read a motivational book or listen to an inspiring podcast?
Listen to a podcast, yeah, or listen to a YouTube clip. I used to always listen to a guy called Eric Thomas, and he does this motivational clip about when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. So I'm a sucker for any cheesy motivational YouTube clip.
Nice. All right. Daily routine or go with the flow?
I'd like to say daily routine, but my life's pretty much go with the flow. I'm pretty chilled and go with the flow.
Has it always been like that?
Obviously, in the military, it was all routine, but I think, and I think I've definitely had pros and cons in my life for it. Sometimes I've loved the routine. I do love routine, and my day is, loosely based around the routine. But at the same time, I'm quite social and do like to go with the flow as well. I've got the breaking strain of a chocolate fire guard, so I might have a routine. But then if there's a social there, then it can easily get swapped and it can get chopped and changed. So I'd say go with the flow.
Have you always been like that then? Or is it more like, did you, or coming out Marines, was that quite a big
I've always liked to have routine, but again, I've always just been open to new things, and I wouldn't really stress myself out too much if the routine wasn't kept to.
Yeah, so it doesn't throw your whole day off.
No,
then if it goes, oh, that's cool. I'm a sucker for routine. It literally throws my day off. So I need to probably learn a few bits today from you. So, do you prefer being a teacher or a student?
Student. Well, I'd say kind of like second in command. Do you know what I mean? I'd like to be some kind of, not at the very top of the kind of pecking order, but not far from the top. And I like to be around people who are better than me.
Yeah. It levels you up, doesn't it?
Yeah, massively. Yeah. That quote of if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to change rooms. I love that one, and I make sure I'm always the stupidest person in the room, to be honest.
Yeah. Love that, man. So, what's your guilty pleasure?
As in what? As in like
anything? What comes to mind?
At the moment, I've got a...
Doesn't have to be PG, by the way.
At the moment, I've got a thing at the moment where I've got a Terry's chocolate orange in my fridge, and every time I open it, I'm just taking a slice. That's about as guilty pleasure as I can think of right now, because I've done it just before I come out the house. Guilty pleasure?
Living on the edge, man.
My daughter got me into Taylor Swift. Is that classed as a 36-year-old man being bang into Taylor Swift? I don't know.
So we've got a guy that's a world record breaker, motivational speaker, Marine, amputee, and he's living life on the edge, eating Terry's chocolate orange and Taylor's and listening to Taylor
Give me an
Swift.
example, in what thing of guilty pleasure? Do you know what I mean?
So
what's yours then?
So my guilty pleasure is it guilty pleasure? Probably is if I've had such a stressful month or two, whatever it is, I'll just go off the radar for 2 days and just that's what I love to do. Yeah, no. Just literally watching binging on Netflix or whatever it might be.
God,
I don't know if that's a coping mechanism or a guilty
probably
pleasure.
Got millions of them. You know what? I'm sticking with Taylor Swift. I think she's brilliant.
Taylor Swift.
I'm genuinely bang into Taylor Swift. Yeah.
What's your favourite song?
Is it Summertime? Is it? I think. I'm one of the. I couldn't say the titles of any songs, by the way, but I'm one of them. I can sing along to every song.
Do you know what my guilty pleasure is?
What?
Shake It Off by Taylor Swift.
Shake It Off's a good one. Yeah.
So,
I like the ones that aren't as mainstream. Do you know what I mean?
Love them. Right. So 3 people at a dinner party, dead or alive. Who are you having?
Jurgen Klopp, Barack Obama, and Stephen Graham.
So I want to ask one comment. I'm super interested in that one. Why Barack Obama?
I mean, I just think the adversities overcome being the first black president. His kind of rise to having, probably the most important job in the world. If we can get a couple of drinks down, I might give away a few secrets of things like that. I just think he'd be super interesting given the job he'd done. He was there when he took out Bin Laden. I just think any president I think would be cool, but especially him, he's got a bit of character, a bit of charisma. I think he'd be cool, yeah.
Oh, because he was acting president that time when Bin Laden was taken out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Do you know what? I've never thought about that before.
Yeah. Talent. Yeah, if he was quite open, I'm sure it'd be quite a fun chat.
Yeah. Nice. Right. So last one, the quick round, because I don't want to make it last too long. So if you were to write a book, what would the title be?
I've already got a book and it's called You'll Never Walk.
Nice.
There you go.
All right. Well, should we, off the back of that, let's dive into your story then. So talk to us about your story and, how it sort of unfolded from back of Afghanistan.
Yeah. So for the purposes of this, I guess it started on the 3rd of February 2009. I joined the Marines when I was 17. I'd served at this point, I think 3 or 4 years. I'd done an operation in Iraq. And at this point, I'm in Afghanistan. Been there about 5 months. I had 6 weeks left before I was due home. Routine foot patrol, one that we'd done hundreds of times before. My best mate Ian was leading the way. I was the second man. 5 o'clock in the morning, pitch black. And as we're walking through a field, Ian turns to me and says, "Andy, we need to jump over this ditch at some point." I give it the thumbs up. "Yeah, whenever you're good to go, let me know." A few moments later, he turns to me again and says, "Look, mate, you ready?" I said, "Okay." I steady myself. He takes a run and jump. And then just as I'm about to run and jump, I hear 2 of the loudest bangs I've ever heard before. And everything just goes pitch black. What Ian didn't see was on the other side of the ditch, in between the 2 trees, there was a tripwire, an inch or so off the ground. He's jumped, hit this tripwire. 2 bombs have went off in between us, blowing him forward, blowing me back. In that one split second, suffered from 27 separate injuries.
Jeez.
Shrapnel to my face, broken sternum, broken elbow, chunks missing out both forearms, severed my femoral artery, which I think you can bleed to death within, 6 minutes.
Jesus.
Chunk up my left thigh, broke both lower legs, severe nerve damage to both hands and both feet. I remember it all like it was yesterday. Took about 40 minutes or so for a helicopter to come in and pick me up. That then transported me to Camp Basti in the main hospital. I had 2 life-saving operations performed on me, and then my condition was deemed so serious they got me straight back to the UK. And then I spent the next 2 weeks in an induced coma. And then that's when I wake and realise that my life has took a different path.
Wow. I'm a bit speechless, man. Like, I think everyone talks about adversity and, I'm like, yeah, I've had to go over this business thing. But, apart from death, what more could you have overcome? That's like,
in a way though, but it was, I don't think of it like that because I didn't have to do anything. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I thankfully had a lot of amazing people around me who saved my life that day.
Was it Ian that was with you? Did you say that?
Ian was the guy who got blown up with you. He survived as well. When people say, "Oh, it's amazing what you've overcome," all I done was lie there and have everyone around me patch me up and do everything they could to keep me alive. So I owe my life to the lads of 4-5 Commando, the doctors, the nurses, the helicopter crews, and then as we come back to the UK, the staff at Birmingham Hospital, and then it goes on to then the rehab staff, the physios, and so yeah, I think it was wrong place, wrong time. But as we go on through the story, it was probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
Yeah. So that was back in 2006.
2009.
2009.
Yeah.
So, and then what was like the recovery process like off the back of that?
So when I woke up from the 2-week coma, I had 2 options basically, whether to amputate the leg right there and then, or whether to go through a rehabilitation process of trying to keep the leg. I obviously was in no rush to start chopping parts of my body off that might not have needed to be chopped off. So I chose to keep the leg for about 18 months and really worked hard on trying to recover as best as I could. But ultimately, even once the doctors had worked the wonders and performed miracles on my body, I was never ever going to be able to run again. I was never ever going to be able to climb mountains and live the life I wanted to live. So after 18 months, I then chose myself to have the leg amputated for a better quality of life. And that decision come from being around so many other injured soldiers, seeing them with far more worse injuries than me, cracking on with their lives, you know, learning to ski, learning to surf, jumping out of planes, climbing mountains, doing all these amazing things. And I thought, you know, I'm struggling with this leg because I can't walk. I had so much nerve damage. It was almost like a fused ankle. It caused me a lot of pain. And I thought, you know what, I need to move on with my life. And that's when I made the decision to have the leg amputated. And then coming back to the story of the book, I had a Liverpool tattoo of a liver bird and "You'll Never Walk Alone" tattooed on my leg. And when they've amputated the leg, they've cut off the word "alone." So the tattoo now reads "You'll Never Walk." That's the reason for the title of the book. So, yeah.
Wow. So obviously when you had the amputation, like how long did it take you to learn to walk? You know, with a prosthetic.
So I had the leg amputated on the 25th of November 2010. I spent 5 nights in hospital. Got sent home with a box of paracetamol, and then I was wearing that leg.
As you do.
It's crazy, the recovery from an amputee. That's not me trying to give it the big one. I think I've seen a study that says you can actually recover faster from an amputated leg than you can a broken ankle. Wow. So it's crazy, yeah. So I was wearing the prosthetic leg on Christmas Day, 2010, only for like maybe 10 minutes or so. I'd say probably by...
Whereabouts?
Below the knee.
Right, okay, so you've still got your full function of the knee properly though, right, okay.
I'd say probably by about March, April time, I was walking pretty much okay.
Wow.
And then by the following summer, I was running again. So maybe 6 months, 7 months.
Yeah. So from there on, you went to break a world record. Can you talk to us more about that?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate at first when I was having the leg amputated and going through the process. Prince Harry got involved in something called the Invictus Games, which was basically like a mini Olympics for injured soldiers. And I went and took part in that, won a couple of gold medals, which was great. And then the next goal then was the Paralympics. Unfortunately for me, the longest distance in the Paralympics for someone with one leg is just 400 meters, just one lap of the track. And I've always classed myself as a bit more of a Mo Farah than a Usain Bolt. And I thought there's got to be other amputees around the world who like running longer distances. So I done a bit of Googling and I found out there was a guy called Rick Ball who'd lost his leg in a car accident. He's from Canada and he could run 10K in 37 minutes, 53 seconds. And I thought, you know what? I'll have a bit of that. And I trained and I trained and I trained. It took me ages to break 40 minutes, to go sub 40. And then in the end, I went and I got a guy called Tony Clark, who's a fantastic running coach. And I worked with him and Liverpool Harriers, trained with them for about 3 or 4 months. And then in July 2016, ended up running 10K in 37 minutes, 17 seconds.
Wow. Breaking
the previous record by 36 seconds. Thus becoming the fastest single leg amputee in the world over 10K. And the really funny story about that though is when I, first of all recovered from a massive hangover, about 2 weeks later, I emailed the Guinness Book of Records, said, "Hello, my name's Andy Grant, just ran 10K, 37 minutes, 17 seconds. Can I have my world record? I've got all the witnesses, all the timekeepers, all the officials." And they said, "As this is a world record, you need to get international classification. To get international classification, we need to give you an international medical. The next time we can give you a medical is at the next World Championships in Dubai. Come over to Dubai, see one of our doctors. They'll make sure you've got one leg and then you can have your world record." And I was like, "Can we not just FaceTime or I'll send a selfie or something? Surely I don't have to go to Dubai to prove I've got one leg." And they said, "No, it's a world record. Unless you do this, then you're not." And I was just like, fuck it, I know I've done it. So I didn't actually get this world record. So I'm not a world record holder. I'm just the unofficial fastest single leg amputee in the world. But what did happen was ITV made a documentary about me breaking this record.
Yeah.
And someone from the Royal Marines watched this documentary, couldn't quite believe the time I'd run, and invited me back into the home of the Royal Marines to a sportsman's dinner where I was awarded a Royal Marine running vest.
Wow.
Which in a way meant more to me than the Guinness World Record, to know that I was still part of that Royal Marine family.
So were you confident you were going to do that then, or was it kind of, we'll give it a go, see if it sort of happens or not?
No, we trained really hard, and my coach was an amazing coach. I think he coaches Phil Foden as well. So
you were literally, you were training to get that record. That was the whole, how long did the training sort of period last?
Probably 3 or 4 months. I worked with those guys week in, week out, the boys and girls at Liverpool Harriers. And we done a run, I think, like that 5 days before, and it was raining, it was windy, it was horrendous conditions. And I was running, I think, 5.5 minute mile pace. And I only needed to run, I think it was 6 minute, 10 minute mile pace.
Wow.
It was interval training, albeit though I thought if I'm doing 550s, like I'm kind of for 5.5 minutes on, and then a couple of minutes rest, and then going again at that pace. In this wind, in this rain, I thought, as long as it's not pissing down and super windy, I should be okay with this. And we ran a race again about a month before it, a 5K somewhere in Cheshire, but it's a really fast course, and I got a 18:07 for a 5K.
Wow.
And I thought, you know what, I'm flying here, I should be okay. But I was still nervous on the day. I had, you know, the likes of Callum Smith, you know, world champion boxer, Jamie Carragher down. I had like hundreds of people support me. So there's a lot of pressure. It was getting videoed for this documentary, but I had a fantastic team pace setting me, and the coach was there, and the work had been done. So yeah, I felt confident.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So what was the process like for the series that you did there? Like, how did that even come about? Like, what the
series, the documentary?
The documentary, yeah. Sorry, the documentary.
You know what? A lad approached me. I do a lot of work, a lot of motivational speaking with the young lads at Liverpool's academy, and I was doing Liverpool FC's. I think they have like a TV channel or something. One of the guys who works there said, "Have you ever thought about doing a documentary?" And I said, "No, I've never wanted to do one or anything." And he said, "Well, I've never done one, but should we have a go?" So I said, "Yeah, okay. I'm trying to go for this record. If you want to just document this." And it started off with him. He was a producer for LFC TV, and he just literally was following me around with a camera. And then it just grew arms and legs. And then before you knew it, it was kind of went through my phone book and started doing a few name drops and got a few people involved, and then got bigger and bigger and bigger. And we ended up having Stephen Graham doing voiceovers, Tom Hardy doing a voiceover, wow. Jamie Carragher was involved, Ronnie O'Sullivan. Just loads of people got involved, and real success. ITV then bought the rights to it, and it was
incredible,
mega,
mate.
It was cool, yeah.
We was like, where the hell's all this just like coming from? Like,
I mean, it was just
this stuff happens. You got to run with it, haven't you? As it's coming, yeah.
And that's the great thing about the military and the humour. You know, one of my best mates in the Marines, he was because obviously you need to put it out there on social media. This is what we're doing, and you need to kind of hype everyone up. But then at the same time, I remember he rang me on the afternoon of me breaking the record, and he said, "I fucking hope you break this record, because otherwise you're going to look like a massive bellend otherwise." And it was like, yeah, nice one for the vote of confidence, mate. But so that was the bit of pressure, but I'd kind of heaped on myself, just because you have to, I guess, when you're trying to, you know, do all this and the documentary and stuff.
I think though, like I think that's the thing. Like a lot of people are missing from the life is like, yeah, you got to win at things. You've got to push yourself, and I think if a lot of people were brought up with that more from being younger, they'd be in a lot better position later on in life now. So I think there is a good lesson in that, that you do have to push deadlines, and you do have to try and come first of whatever it is you're doing in life, or you're never going to excel, are you?
Yeah, and I think that's where I think being in the Marines massively, you know, pushing myself and trying to be the best, because, you know, they don't suffer fools, and that was definitely a good lesson early on at 17 to learn that, you know.
Yeah,
there's a great game that they play in the Marines called Pays to Be a Winner.
Yeah,
and it's it could be like the 60 guys, you know, training, and it'd be like, right to the tree and back, go, pays to be a winner. So if you come first, then you're out. You can stand to the side, and then there's 59 lads will have to go again, and then it pays to be a winner. So whoever comes first, then they can step aside. So if you don't win, you're running a lot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if you do win, well done. You've only done one rep, and that's you done. So pays to be a winner is a good lesson in life.
I love that, man. So going on from then, so at this point, had you been doing the motivational speaking, and what point did that start at in you? So it was 2009 when the kind of journey started. At what point did you start doing the motivational speaking?
So I done A-levels. I done English and history at A-level, and then I dropped out after a year and joined the Marines. But I'd kept a good relationship with all the teachers I went to school with. I loved school, and kept in touch with them. And then when I joined the Marines, one of the teachers, my old English teacher, said, "Can you come in and just talk to the kids about getting into the Marines?" So I'd done that. And then I got back from Iraq, done the same. I had 2 weeks off in Afghanistan, so I spoke a little bit about Afghanistan before I got injured. And then obviously I got injured, and then the school secretary rang me up and said, "Andy, can you come and do one of your talks that you've done about, you know, your recovery?" And I said, "Yeah, no problem, that's fine." And I'd always just gone in like jeans and t-shirts, sat in a classroom, really informal, with just the kids and just a bit of a Q&A. And she said, "This time, can you wear your uniform and all your medals?" I said, "I'm not fucking getting dressed up in all my stuff to come in and speak for 20 minutes in front of a few kids." And she said, "Oh no, this time it's in the local town hall in front of 700 people." And I was like, fucking hell, like, I've never done anything like this before. So I sat down with my old English teacher, and it was like a kind of Leavers Awards night or something like that. And we just come up with a bit of a speech. And it was the week before I was having my leg amputated. So I just spoke on stage about, all these kids are leaving school. Who knows what life's got in store for them? And, I was like, look, I'm having my leg amputated next week. Who knows what that's going to be like? But the importance of having, good influences around you, the right mindset, determination, that kind of stuff. And spoke for 20 minutes, got a standing ovation, and I walked off stage thinking, I quite enjoyed that. I mean, at that point,
did you feel like there was no one in front of you though when you were there and the lights were on and everything?
I could see everyone.
Right.
But you know what? I enjoyed it though. It was good. But at that point, I never had a story. All that was a guy who got blown up, which, all right, it's an interesting story, but I know hundreds of lads who've been shot and blown up in the Marines. So that wasn't anything, to really talk about. It was only then as my recovery started, and I started obviously learning to walk, learning to run. I started going on adventures. I learned to surf. I learned to ski. I was, climbing mountains around the world, and I was growing as a person.
Yeah.
And that's when I thought, you know what, I'll revisit this, kind of this talk that I'd done back in 2010. So it was probably like 2014, I think, 3 or 4 years later, as I'd grown as a person, and I'd kind of put the life's lessons kind of into some sort of order. I went and sat down with a life coach, and I just said, look, I want to go into schools and do this kind of thing. And I didn't even know it was a career, to be honest. I didn't know you could earn money from going and doing talks. And I said, look, this is my life. I think I've got lessons that people could benefit from. And I guess the kind of 10-year period is, 12, I lost my mum, 17, joined the Marines, 18, was in Iraq, 19, I was in Afghanistan, 20, I got blown up, 21, chose to have my leg amputated, 22, learned to walk again.
Wow.
So that kind of 10-year period from 12 to 22, I learned a lot. And I just kind of wanted to then sit down with a life coach and say, look, this is my life. Can we work together in putting some sort of presentation together? And then I started doing that, going into schools. And then as my own life was cracking on, the presentation was changing and I was adapting things. I was learning things along the way. And then it just went from word of mouth, schools, then to, you do a talk in a school and then the head teacher would say, oh, my husband or my wife works at so-and-so. Can you go and do that? And then, 10 years later, I've worked in America, China, worked at the likes of Nike, Under Armour, BT, Sky.
So you're 32 now?
36.
36.
Yeah.
Good drafts. That's why I'm not an accountant. Almost.
And
other 3 at the start.
Yeah, being thankfully spoke all over the world to all different types of audiences, and it's been amazing really to think I feel so lucky.
Honestly,
and so
I'm so excited so we've just done the AGM for the whole franchise group for Transform Hub, and we've got our date locked in for next year. So straight after this, I'm going to chat to you about guest speaking for that. So mental note. So yeah, I'm inspired for that. I think we're coming to the end of this podcast now. So I want to get the viewers that are watching this that might be going for a tough time right now. They might be struggling to break through to that next stage in their life, whether it's for business, any goal they've got, or they're generally going just through a tough time. If someone's just, you'll probably know, like sometimes you just feel like you hit a brick wall and you don't know what the next move is. Like, what advice would you give to someone that's like feeling like that right now?
Yeah, it's loads really. I think a big thing when I do the motivational speaking, I always talk about losing my mum at a young age. I say to people, you don't need to get blown up in Afghanistan to realise life can be tough. So losing my mum at 12 was by far the hardest thing I went through. So straight away, I think that, just because whatever challenge you're kind of struggling with at the moment, you'd never ever underplay it because it's big for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've all got something on our plate. The difference is we've all got different size plates. Yeah. So what might be a struggle for you, I might find a breeze and vice versa. So I think the first thing would be, don't be too hard on yourself. Second thing I'd say, I always talk about a quote I say in the motivational speaking is life is 10% the situation you find yourself in, 90% what you do about it. You're not defined by the challenges and adversities you go through. You're defined by how you react to them.
Yeah.
So I'd say focus on the things that you can control. And again, I use the example of every morning I wake up, I'm an amputee. So every morning I have to hop from my bedroom into the bathroom. I stand on one leg in the shower and then I hop back into my bedroom, sit on the edge of my bed and put a prosthetic leg on. And that is 10% of my day I've got no control over. It is what it is. But the second I put my leg on, the day is mine. It's what I do with it, my attitude, how I treat people, how hard I work. So when you are going through challenges, know that it's, it can be kind of compartmentalized into like a small bit, focus on the other things around it that you can have a positive impact on. And I think the last thing I'd say is one of the biggest benefits I think, which sounds mad, as I look back now as a 36-year-old, was losing my mum and getting blown up in Afghanistan has been two of the greatest things in a weird way that have happened to me, because it's made me so much more resilient to life's challenges and life's problems. So when you are going through a tough time, you don't really know if it's a really tough time until it's run its course.
Yeah.
Because, it could send you or put you in a better position later on in life. So obviously I wouldn't want to go through losing my mum at a young age again, and I wouldn't want to get blown up in Afghanistan again. But I think the lessons it taught me have really helped. So I think when you are going through the tough time, try and envisage that.
I know I'm probably going over time a bit here now, but I'm just, I think it'd be really useful for everyone to hear. So did you know at those times that you were going to come back stronger from it, or did it kind of just happen? You just had, right, I'm going to get for the next day, or did you go, right, I'm going to come out on top here. This is an opportunity for me to grow?
I think I've always had an underwhelming, I've always had a kind of confidence in myself that I'll overcome it. And again, that comes from getting over losing my mum. So it was like, when I joined the Marines at 17, it was the hardest, longest training we have here in the UK. I didn't turn up cocky for it, but I thought, it's not going to be as hard as losing my mum when I was 12. And then obviously I got in the Marines, but then I got blown up in Afghanistan, and I thought, okay, I've got all these amazing doctors and nurses helping me. It's going to be tough, but I got in the Marines on my own. This time around, I've got all these amazing people helping me. And then when it comes to have my leg amputated, I thought, well, I've only got one injury to get over now. I had 27 a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I've always looked back at my kind of accomplishments and things I've got over and used that as a bit of a confidence boost to whatever other challenge I've got in front of me. So again, for anyone who is going through a tough challenge, remind yourself of all the other shit you've dealt with in your life, and hopefully that'll give you a bit of a confidence boost in whatever you're going through at the moment.
Yeah. Saying you just get better at dealing with your problems the more you go through.
I think so, yeah. I think so. When you get older, you get more mature, you learn lessons. You've maybe got a better support system, a better support network. And yeah, I think you can, age can definitely help with you when you're dealing with stuff like that.
Awesome. All right, guys. So just wrapped up there. Awesome session with Andy. So Andy, thanks for coming on again.
Thanks for having me, mate.
I appreciate you coming down, and hopefully we'll see you at IAGM next year.
Hopefully.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.